You turn my mourning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my mourning into dancing. You turn my mourning into dancing. You turn my mourning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my mourning into dancing. 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 Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything.
Good morning, guys. How you doing today? It is Tuesday morning, and it is ridiculous outside. I think that's the worst part about Michigan winters is they seem to warm up a little bit, and they tease you with some 60-degree weather, and then pow, man, it sticks you with a 16-degree morning, and you're like, oh, that's right. I remember what it was like. It's no fun out there right now. I looked out the window and I said, I might not go outside today. So we're in the book of 1 Corinthians. And before we get started with that, let's see who we got with us this morning. I saw quite a few comments. I saw Chuck B was here. Good morning. She says shalom, gentlemen. And Ken Gooch says, good morning, fellow brothers in arms. Chris Conley says good morning. And Bert Reggiani. John Sproul, good morning. And Jody, good morning. That's all the comments we have. We have 22 people watching us, though, so we had better behave. It is such a joy. I'm going to pull up the scripture for today. I might just read through this because it's short. Sometimes, it's different every time. Sometimes you want to go through it step verse by verse, and then other times you want to just read the whole thing as a whole. And I think today, let's do that. First, he's talking about proclaiming Christ crucified. He says, when I came to you, brothers, I did not come proclaiming to you the testimony of God with lofty speech or wisdom. For I decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. And I was with you in weakness and in fear and much trembling. And my speech and my message were not implausible words of wisdom, but the demonstration of the Spirit and power, so that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. That's it. That's all we have today. It's just a short little thing, a little snippet, I guess I would call it. So Paul starts out this thing. Remember we talked about it last Friday, how the Gentiles like philosophical discussions or intellectual debate. That's how they decided things and discussed things. Now, Paul starts out with a humbler approach, saying, I know nothing. He had no clever debates, only thing he wanted to tell him was Jesus was crucified. That's all he wanted to tell, that gospel story. He uses words weakness, trembling, and fear. Why not confidence? If we're one redeemed, why not confidence? Why wouldn't he come in boldly and confidently? Instead, he uses the words weakness, trembling, and fear. Knowing the audience's desire for intellectual conversation or discussion, he's using his weakness to make room for God's power to be more evident. I think we sometimes get caught up in the fact that we need to be an evangelist for God that is powerful and strong and changes minds and hearts with our words, thinking that it's our job to do it. Then he ends it telling us that our faith is built on the wisdom of men. But instead he relies on the power of God. So his words mean nothing to him. It's the power of God that he wants to relay in this. If your faith is built on a greater message or messenger, it can collapse. I mean, so if all you do is you're going to church for that message, or your faith is based on that message, it'll fall apart. If your faith is built on logic, that can be argued away. I mean, it's very common in scientific discussions to find two sides of a discussion and argue it back and forth, and leaving a lot of people that are watching the conversation confused. But if it's built on God's power, it endures. That's the thing we have to remember. So how can Scripture help us live in 2026? How can this be a part of our lives in today's kingdom, in this world? Well, we need to keep the gospel central. Christ died, was buried, was crucified, died, buried. It's easy to get lost in this kingdom. There's so much distracting. It's pulling us in different directions. We got all these help gurus that teach us that our inner being is whatever, blah, blah, blah. This kingdom motivation, wealth and happiness and pretty girls. And there's so many things that can pull us away from the gospel message. Entertainment, movies and singers. Oh my goodness. And lately in the entertainment people have decided what's right and what's wrong, and they need to tell us. Paul's telling us that the cross is still the message. He says, he's telling, we don't need to wait until we feel strong or sure in our or smart enough, right? He's telling us we don't need to wait. Do it. I know we sometimes feel inadequate, like we don't know enough. If an argument comes up on us, that we need to be better, we need to be different, we need to be stronger. We feel that in our heart. I know who's telling us that. We get nervous, right? We get unsure because what if they ask a question I can't answer? To me, it comes down to what we say at the end of every broadcast. Let someone see Jesus in you. All right. Again, I think I said this Friday. We get so caught up in, or no, I said it last week with the stone that the Israelites put up to remind them of what God had done, so they could see with their eyes the work of God. When we tell people to see Jesus in you, we don't. It is a physical manifestation of our faith, of how our faith has changed who we are and what we are. Paul will tell us that our nervousness and our feelings of inadequacy where's where the power of God actually shows up. You ever had a situation when you didn't have words and you were afraid you didn't, but when the time came, they were there? Sometimes we need to trust the Spirit to do the real work. We share the message. We love is a part of who we are. The Spirit is the one that changes hearts. The Spirit's the one that convicts souls. Can we damage that process? Can we make it not work as well as it should? Yes. If we're acting poorly and people don't see Jesus in us, then the Spirit's message might fall on deaf ears. But if they see something and they wonder, we need to, is our faith based on a person, emotions, or intellectual? We got to remember that this is part of what this message scripture is telling us. Where are we basing our faith? Are we basing it on a super message we heard? Are we basing it on our emotions or intellectual? Or are we basing it on a real account of our life? I mean, can we look back in our lives and say, that was God? That was God's power. So much of our lives we've lived in, and we can look back. And the older you get, the more of it you can do, right? I mean, that's part of it. A 16-year-old's not going to be able to look back very far, but a 70-year-old is going to say, oh, that's where you were. I can't stress it enough. We just need to stay on task. We need to understand that the Spirit will do His job if we do ours. And that's the message I have for you today. I pray it was a blessing. I got to get out of here. Well, look at time. It's getting behind. I'm starting to get too talkative. I don't see any more real comments, so I'm going to let it go with that. Have a firmly rooted day, guys. May someone see Jesus in you. Literally, may someone see Jesus in you. Peace.